So when you do a glute bridge, this is going to be somewhere between that 0 to 2 week period. So the left knee's fresh out of surgery. You're not going to have a great range of motion, so you'll probably have an offset stance, injured leg a little straighter. So Ellie's going to press up into her bridge. So a little bit of glute, hammy activation, but we're not getting too much flexion through that knee. And she just goes up and down. And then over that time period, if she's getting more flexion in the knee, we can bend it in a little bit more, get a little bit more work here through the hammy. So that's just a staggered stance glute bridge. Okay, so another exercise which will work well in that immediate post-surgery phase is the staggered stance sit to stand. So Ellie's sitting down, the injured knee's here, not as much flexion. She's just going to lean forward, press herself up. There's a little bit of load through here. There's a little bit of load through the foot. But essentially keep going. She's working through the right leg and putting a little bit through the left. And you want that down phase to be slow and controlled. That's a nice little staggered stance, sit to stand. So this is one of the main movements that you're going to find being done because it allows some resistance to be put through the quad, but at the same time, it also allows for that modification of range. So it's a banded knee extension or a banded terminal knee extension movement. So Ellie's up on her foot. She's just going to push that heel down and then try and straighten her knee and contract the quad. So we're really trying to get some work out of the quad here. There's a lot of ability to load up without any pressure going downwards and through the knee. So this is a nice little rehab exercise in those early phases. So banded knee extension or terminal knee extension. All right, so a bilateral squat. This will be in the phase where they're more than 2 weeks post-surgery. They're now walking unassisted, but certainly not with a proper gait. So with Ellie here, we're just going to get her doing a normal squat with a very modified range. That might be as far as she can go, as far as she feels confident, and as far as she has the strength to control her movement. So it's just a very easy, modified, slow, controlled, normal body weight squat. So once we start getting a bit of confidence through a bilateral squat, we then go into a lunge or a split stance. So Ellie's got the injured limb forward. She's doing a modified lunge, so just a very small range of motion, very slow, very controlled. Over the period of time, over the period of weeks, we'll look to increase that. So this foot will go back a little bit. This range of motion will increase a little bit, but it's all dependent upon comfort, confidence, range of motion, pain and swelling, and all of that's going to be dictated by the clinician, and we're going to then proceed with whatever movement we can get within those parameters. So this is called an offloaded squat. What we're doing here is just elevating the injured limb. We're taking a fair bit of pressure off that. We're trying to get some deeper range of motion without so much load. So Ellie's going to do a controlled, slow squat. And as that range of motion increases through the weeks, we can start to get a little bit more bend in this knee, but there's not a lot of pressure there, not the same amount as if that foot was flat on the ground. So it's giving us range without too much load. Good. Okay, as the weeks progress, you can see the range of motion increasing in the knee. The strength will be coming back slowly. The confidence will be coming back. So now we can get Ellie sitting to stand. So there's more flexion in the knee. There's more range of motion. There's going to be a little bit more strength, and obviously she's getting a bit more confident. As you saw with the earlier staggered stance, this leg's out here, less range of motion available. But now the range is coming back in the knee. We can do normal sit to stand. The other thing we can do with this very basic movement is overload it very easily. Just grab some dumbbells or some kind of load that we can carry, and we can start sitting and standing with that extra load. Away we go. So a nice little movement that we can get into, which almost feels like a normal training exercise, is a sled push with terminal knee extension. So remember, the left knee is the one that's been injured. It's a very slow, it's a very deliberate walking movement, but we're trying to get terminal knee extension here. We're trying to get full extension. The glute, the hammy, the quad, we're trying to get that whole limb to contract as normally as what it normally would. Okay. So now we can get into more of a traditional glute bridge position and exercise. So we've got a little bit of flexion at the knee. Ali's lifting the hips. There's contraction of the glutes and hammies here. As the flexion abilities or the range of motion increase on that knee, we can get her to slide in a little bit. So as the weeks progress, we come in closer, we get more flexion and we bridge again. So she's getting a little higher. And then as she gets stronger, come in, we can, in another couple of weeks, we can change that and keep bringing her in and keep getting more flexion in that knee. Eventually, we're going to get to a point where we can raise this leg up and then just bridge through that one. But we're a little ways from that yet. But that's what we're heading towards. All right, so as the weeks progress, we can get into something a little bit more loaded. So we can do a kettlebell deadlift. Okay, just a normal deadlift technique, very simple, straightforward. Everything else applies. The hinge at the hips, the flexion at the knee. We've got a modified range because we've got that plate. Now, as she gets stronger and as the range increases, we can take those plates away. So we can gradually change the range of motion and get her down to a point where she's doing her normal range of motion and normal hinging knee flexion as well. All right, so really important that we don't neglect the strength of the calf. We've got to build that strength back up. We're going to build that muscle mass back up. So we can initially start with both feet on the box and we can do standard calf raises up and down. Then what we can do is we can actually stand up on both feet. So raise up on both toes. Right, now take this one away, lift it off and lower only with that one. Now put this one back on, stand up, take it away, drop it down, put it back on. Stand up, take it away, drop down. So you do the eccentric only on that side. When you get strong enough, that leg gets out of the way completely. This stays straight. And we do up and down, single leg calf raise on the injured limb. So you've got a couple of variations there and a couple of modifications, but eventually we want to get to that point where we're doing good quality single leg calf raises on the injured limb. Okay, so for a bit of proprioception and for a bit of strength endurance as well, we can have the subject standing on one leg, standing on the injured limb. She's very steady there at the moment, but that's not the way it would look if she was injured. Once we do a couple of weeks of that and she's looking still and solid, then we can bring in a ball or something similar and we can start doing a bit of catch and throw. So adding in another element to the exercise, another degree of difficulty. You can even change the position that you throw to the ball to her to add that stability element. As the strength and the range of motion improves, we can start getting into a more controlled but still deeper version, which is a Swiss ball squat. So it's just a standard squat movement, a little bit of support here on the ball. That way Ali can just relax and concentrate. There's a little bit less body control required. And she's looking to get some decent flexion at that left knee. Nice and slow, good control. And gradually work through whatever range she's starting to cope with. Good. So as we move into phase 3, so we're kind of 25 weeks and beyond, we can start doing more traditional strength training exercises like this. So Ali's left knee is the reconstructed ACL. She's doing a weighted step up. Good control on the way up, even better control on the way down on that eccentric phase. I'm looking to make sure that that knee tracks quite straight. So we don't want any valgus. We want to see that that's got good control and we're trying to get real strength now and develop some muscle mass in that quad. All right, so with this goblet squat, obviously the weight's going to be dependent on her strength levels and where she's at. Range of motion is going to be dependent on where she's at, but the movement is pretty much like that. It's just your standard goblet squat. Looking for that knee flexion, we're looking to make sure that she's got good control, especially eccentrically. And then as that strength develops, obviously we increase the weight. Pretty standard exercise, but good for this stage of her rehab. One of the more difficult movements that we can start to develop is a single leg bridge. So Ali's just going to bridge up on that rehab knee. There's a fair bit of glute and hamstring involvement here, so therefore her ability to do this will be determined by how much strength she's developed to this point. It's also going to be determined by whether or not they used hamstring tendon on this leg or on this leg to actually use as the graft. More often than not, they'll probably use a hamstring tendon from the unaffected knee, in which case this should be pretty good. But that's a single leg bridge on a bench. Now, when we set up for this banded Bulgarian split squat, we need to get the setup right. So we get Ellie in the position here so she's got some tension. So she might want to even come back a little bit more. Keep going, keep going, keep going, about there. So we've got good tension on the band. Rear foot is elevated, as in a rear foot elevated split squat. Good tall position, hands on hips. Then she's going to drop down, back knee to touch the floor, and try and keep that heel flat as well. And she's going to drop down, good, and press up. That's better. So keep going. So this band is all about making that quad work harder in that last little bit of what we call terminal knee extension. Do a couple more. Sit back a little bit. There you go. Down, sit back, yes, and up. Again, one more. Drop, 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 and press. So there's a little bit of work to be done on that one as well, but that's a banded knee extension on the rear elevated split squat. All right, so we're going to go into a walking lunge, a weighted walking lunge. Just a standard walking lunge move, just a little bit longer with your step. And she's got the additional kettlebells to give us some weight through that leg. So you can do traditional lunges, you can do walking lunges. As you get deeper into the rehab, we can start doing different positions like a sideways lunge. But that's fine for this stage of her rehab. Okay, good. All right, so as we progress and advance, let's get into an RDL, a Romanian deadlift. So starting position, chest up, shoulders back, sliding the bar down the legs, and then pulling or pushing the hips into the bar. So keeping the bar close, loading up through the posterior chain, through the hammies, through the glutes, through the lower back, slide, stretch, drive. Try and go a little lower. Slide, slide, pause, and drive. Yeah, slide down. We're going to get a pause, down, hold, and drive. Yeah, again, slide, slide, hold, right, and relax. Okay, RDLs. Single leg RDL, working the left leg, kettlebell in the right hand, nice tall posture. So we're hitting the whole posterior chain. She's going to swing that right leg up, slowly down, and come up. So it's all balance, proprioception, unilateral stability, massive challenge through the posterior chain. This is a really advanced exercise for anyone, let alone someone who's been through a knee reco. So let her just get a couple of more reps done, slowly. Whoop, didn't quite get that one. Again, slowly, over and up. Good. So you can imagine this has to happen in that, it's something that happens in that last phase of rehab. One more, slowly, and up. Okay, relax. So we're moving into a box squat. I like using a safety bar, so Ellie's just going to jump into position. We can go to a normal bar at some point, but a safety bar is a nice point to start. So she's just going to slowly sit down, pause at the bottom, rest, hold, drive up. Good. Head up, shoulders up. Stay tall. Squat down, hold, come up. Good. Again, slowly down, hold, drive up. Good. So bilateral movement, keep it slow, keep it controlled, load progressively as she can cope, but obviously technique, form, control is paramount with everything here. And we start like that. Nice move. So as we progress even further, we get into some jumps, some controlled jumps, bilateral jumps, just looking to stick the landing, land soft, absorb the impact. Good eccentric control. Walk back, do it again for me. The size of the jump isn't that important, it's the control. So you're looking for that knee stability, control on landing. Good, okay. That'll do. So now, to make it even harder, we can go into single leg hops. So on that reconstructed leg, we're hopping, we're landing, we're controlling. Walk back, do it again. So you might want to stand front on, watch how that knee's controlling. Good, land soft, absorb the impact. Good, a little bit of a wobble there. So let's get into some diagonal hops from left to right, right to left. We're trying to hold that landing, control that landing. Good, okay, walk back. That's looking better. Again. Good control, stick, hop and stick, hop and stick. Good, nice, nice, good job.